Hello, everybody. My name is Chris.
And I'm Amanda. Thank you so much for joining us today here on Park Pass, where we share all of our theme park secrets.
I don't know. I almost stepped on top of you there. I thought I was going to say something, but you're doing great. Keep going.
Where we share all of our theme park secrets and travel tips.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so we got a lot to talk about today.
Now I'm all embarrassed. I'm turning bright red.
No. You look great. You look fantastic. You're wearing your Cheap hat.
I am wearing my Cheap hat. If you are listening and not viewing us on YouTube, you need to hop over to Park Pass on YouTube so you can see me blush and see my Cheap hat.
That's awesome. All right, so guys, I have some controversy to talk to you about. But before we get to that, I have announcements. Let's do announcements and then let's talk about something that's a little controversial.
Uh-oh.
All right.
Okay, I'm excited.
All right. So big announcements. I've been to Epic Universe. I had a great time. We've talked about that a lot, actually. But starting tomorrow, we will be back at Epic Universe. Amanda, Miles, and I, all three of us will be there for 3 days, going from top to bottom to Epic Universe, seeing it through Amanda's point of view and also Miles' point of view. And also, while I'm down there, we were invited by Disney to do a behind-the-scenes tour of Disney. This is like walking along the underground tunnels of the Magic Kingdom. Now, I'm not allowed to videotape. I think I could take some photos. I can talk about my experiences, but I can't show it. So on our next podcast, we'll talk about all these secrets those dark secrets that Disney has that nobody can see.
I love that. So the deepest, darkest Disney World secrets we can give you. So if you haven't subscribed to our channel, make sure that you hit the subscribe button. It's free to subscribe. And if you have subscribed before, just double check to make sure that you're still subscribed, as YouTube sometimes will kick you off.
Yeah.
But make sure that you're cozy here because we have a lot coming up. And another little announcement that I'm going to throw in there. Our summer is going to be crazy. So make sure that you're subscribed and that you're settled here so you don't miss a thing.
It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll show you so many cool things this summer. Now, I do want to talk about something coming up with Epic Universe, though. Okay. Because this is important for a lot of people. So, and we're not going to go into a lot of details. I know that you don't want to get into a lot of details about this, but Amanda recently had surgery right above her knee, on her knee, and it's healing. So because of that, she has limited mobility and probably can't ride a lot of rides when we're in Epic Universe.
I just don't feel well enough to be riding a lot of rides. And I'm just not going to chance because, Epic, they do have really, really incredible roller coasters and really incredible rides. And so my experience this time at Epic Universe is going to be simply experiencing the parks.
Yes. Going from top to bottom, experiencing the storytelling, experience the food, all the theming. You're going to be experiencing that, seeing that through your point of view. It's going to be amazing. And that brings us right to our controversial topic.
Ooh.
So Disney, you guys know we love Disney. We absolutely adore Disney. We're big Disney fans. And I think I'm going to talk about Walt Disney for a second. Walt Disney.
Ooh, so you're bringing it back to history. And I mean, we are huge Disney fans, as you know. So I'd love to take it back. Take us back in time.
Sure. Walt Disney, I think one of the key things, he was a genius in lots of different things, but one of the things he was so good at was storytelling. And he would create these worlds and environments and characters that we love so much. We still love Mickey Mouse. He's 90 plus years old, and Minnie Mouse. We love them still to this day. And Disney, I believe, when Walt kicked off the company, was so good at storytelling. That's what it was. It was very creative and excellent at storytelling. They told great stories. We created great movies and fantastic stories.
Yes, I love that.
Yes. Bob Iger, and they've had lots of different CEOs, but Bob Iger is now the CEO, and Bob Iger is an excellent business person. There's no doubt about that. And one of the things he's really good at is acquiring other businesses. And he has acquired, since he took over, they acquired Pixar, Marvel, Fox, and Star Wars.
Amazing.
And all of this. But I think Disney has lost their way a little bit when it comes to storytelling because they fell what I call the I don't know test.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah. What's the I don't know test?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. The I don't know test, I think, is a pivotal part that has to play when you go to a theme park. I'm going to give you an example. All right.
Okay.
So when I walk into the Ministry of Magic, and I am not the biggest Harry Potter fan, okay?
So just to clarify, you were talking about storytelling, how they were great storytellers in the movies when Disney first started out, then storytelling in the theme parks. Is that where you're taking us?
And you'll see when we do this I don't know test where I think Disney's kind of stumbled a little bit.
Okay, but you're talking about theme parks.
Yes,
storytelling in the theme parks.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. So when Miles and I walk into, my 8-year-old son and I, when we walk into the Ministry of Magic at Epic Universe, he can ask me, he's like, well, what's that? And I can say, oh, that's the flu. That's how we travel from one area to the next area. Well, what's that? Oh, that's the Ministry of Magic. Where are we? This is where all the wizards and witches work. What are those airplanes flying around? Well, that's amazing. I'm glad that you asked. Those are like how one witch talks to another witch or a wizard, and their memos are flying around. Oh, who's that? Oh, that's Dolores Umbridge. She's the worst bad person in the world, even worse than Voldemort. Really? Oh, yeah. And she likes the color pink and kittens. It's crazy. And what are we doing here? She's on trial because it's crazy because she's such a bad person, but she's going to escape, and we're going to probably try to help. And I'd be able to answer all the questions, right?
Okay.
Like, what? Oh, this is so cool. Where are we? This is magic. And I'm not a big Harry Potter fan.
That's right. Okay. You've read the books, you've seen the movies, and you appreciate it, but you're not the biggest Harry Potter fan.
Now, Star Wars. Super obsessed with Star Wars.
The biggest Star Wars fan.
Love Star Wars to the highest degree. Love it. All the movies. Done.
You love it.
Books. I've read lots of books.
You're in it.
Here's the problem with the I don't know test. I'm a Star Wars fan. I walk in to Batuu with my son. Hey, Dad, where are we? What planet is this? I don't know.
Ooh.
I don't know. Well, who's that girl kind of slinking around over there with the black hair and blue tips? I don't know. Who's Oga? I don't know. I don't know. Why are people saying bright suns and golden moons and all that stuff? I don't know. What is this statue here? Why are people putting their hand on the statue and bowing down to it? I don't know.
Oh, this is so fascinating.
I do know that though. What's that? That's the Millennium Falcon, and then also I could talk about it because I'm familiar with the Millennium Falcon.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Right.
So I'm that's the Millennium Falcon. It's a fast hunk of junk in the galaxy. You can do the Kessel Run in 12.2 parsecs or whatever, and I could talk about it. It'd be really fun. But like everything else, is like, well, what is this over here? I don't know. I don't know.
This is fascinating.
Yes, it's and Disney should have hit a home run with Star Wars, right? Like I should be able to walk in and point to everything and know everything. And at Disney, for whatever reason, they made up this choice. They said, hey, we want you to have your experience in the Star Wars universe. Create your own story. We want you to create the story. We're not going to create it for you. We're going to give you this generic land, and you're going to go in and pretend that you're in Star Wars. And I don't think it's a very good experience, really. It's not good storytelling on their parts. They have the most iconic IP, Star Wars. I want to see Darth Vader. I want to see Luke Skywalker. I want to see Jawas. I want to see Han Solo. Jar Jar Binks? Maybe not. I don't know.
Yes.
You want to see Jar Jar?
Yes, I want to see Jar Jar Binks. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, I mean, it was great. Jabba the Hutt. I'd love to see Jabba the Hutt. And I feel like Disney has failed the I don't know test. Like, I'm a die-hard Star Wars fan, and I don't know what's going on in that land.
Okay.
I'm an okay Harry Potter fan, and I understand everything. I understand it all. And I want to tell this experience. I know I've been talking a lot, but I'll let you get in here.
No, this is great.
So I went a couple of years ago. I had a boys trip. So my friends, we went to going to Orlando, and we're going to go to Universal.
So fun.
Yeah, Universal Studios Orlando, and then to Walt Disney World.
Great boys trip.
Yes, and there was like 6 of us. And my one friend was like, he's a diehard Disney fan, and he's like, I'm not going to go to Universal. I have no desire to go to Universal, but I'll meet you when you guys get to Disney. Right, that's cool. The day before we got to Universal, my friend, he kind of got FOMO, like fear of missing out. He's like, okay, I'm going to meet you there in Universal. He knew zero about Harry Potter. He's never saw the movie or even read the books, right? Knew nothing about it and really had zero desire. And the second we walk into the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, he's like, I love this. Yeah.
Yes.
And the word he said was, I get it. He goes, I get it. And then he's like, because he's a Star Wars fan, he goes, I don't get why they did Batuu. I don't get Batuu. He said that. I thought, that's such a dichotomy right there, right?
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
So someone who has never really read the books, never seen the movies, doesn't really know anything about Harry Potter could walk into that area and understand it and get it and connect with it and enjoy it versus a big Star Wars fan going into Galaxy's Edge that's like, I don't get it. This is so fascinating to kind of break down and look at.
It's weird storytelling, right? So like Star Wars, never once in the movies did I ever see them say bright suns.
Okay.
Like rising moons or whatever they say.
Fair enough.
But I did hear Luke Skywalker and everybody say like, may the force be with you.
Oh.
Why don't I hear that in Galaxy's Edge? Why aren't people saying, may the force be with you? Why don't I hear that? Right? I don't know. Why don't I hear that? I think Universal Studios saw a lot of the feedback that Disney got for Batuu and they course corrected, or maybe they didn't even have to course correct. And they're like, we are going to give fans what they want. They want to be part of these stories. Let's let them be part of the stories. So for example, here's an example. Dark Universe, right? Dark Universe. Our son Miles, he's 8. He knows nothing about those. He's seen none of those black and white films or Frankenstein. Yeah, doesn't anything about it. But he is he's like almost obsessed with this Dark Universe. He keeps talking to me about it. He wants to know. And so he's like, well, what is this? That's Invisible Man. And like, that's the Frankenstein's monster. That's Dracula. That's the Mummy. That's the creature from Black Lagoon. And now, you know what he wants to do? He wants to go back and watch those old black and white movies with me. He's like, Dad, can we watch those movies? Because he wants to see them.
Okay.
When I've taken him to Batuu, not one time has he ever said, Dad, let's go back and watch Star Wars. He's never connected with it. And now he's like, wants to do this for Universal. I'm like, there's a miss there. I think there's a miss there.
This is so huge. And he has only seen YouTube videos for Dark Universe.
Yes.
And he has experienced Galaxy's Edge, multiple times. And I am seriously so happy that you kind of brought this even to my attention, because it's true. He has never once asked, like, who's Rey?
Yeah.
Can I see these newest Star Wars films? He has had zero like spark or interest or, fascination with it. And he has seen the original trilogy. He knows Star Wars. He's seen the original trilogy, but the storyline, or I guess maybe lack of story in Galaxy's Edge, it has not been able to get through to him or connect with him. Whereas even just seeing YouTube videos of Dark Universe or other things in Epic Universe, that is connecting him to this theme park, and he doesn't know anything about it. So I feel like there's this 2 parts to this that I feel like you're really bringing to attention, which is fascinating.
What are the 2 parts?
So the first part to me would be providing a land or a world, because at Epic Universe, they're called worlds.
Yeah, and Disney calls them lands.
So we'll kind of use that interchangeably. Just I want you to be, if you're like, why is she calling it a world? That's why. So there's 2 parts to this that I feel like. One is providing a land or a world that people are connected with, whether that's, How to Train Your Dragon for me. That's a huge connection for me. I'm so excited to see it. They have Toothless there. Like it's that connection that I'm already connected to. Or even for Disney, right? I go to Fantasyland and I see Peter Pan bouncing around the sidewalk, jumping into the bushes, fighting with Captain Hook, and I'm connected to him, right? Like it's Peter Pan. I know him. I've watched the videos. Like I know Peter Pan, so I have that connection to him. So the first part is that connection that guests have with the story. And then the second part that you mentioned with your friend is, let's say someone is going to the land and they have zero connection to anything in that land. What are they doing to immerse that person in the land so they can enjoy it and they can experience and they can get it without knowing anything else about it?
And I'm going to say this is going to be super controversial. Ready? Here we go.
I'm nervous.
Okay. So I went to Disney when I was a child, and it was ingrained into me how much I love Disney. And to this day, I still carry that love. Disney's like my first love, and I love everything about it, right? And I have these great feelings about it. Nostalgia is incredibly high for Disney.
Absolutely.
This is what I've noticed. Our son, Miles, he feels that way towards Universal.
Right.
Because his favorite parks are Universal Studios Japan. His favorite parks are Universal Studios Orlando. And now that Epic's coming up, like, he can't wait. That's all he's talking about is Epic. He wants to go to Epic. And I wonder, when he's an adult, like, is he going to look back fondly at Universal the way that I look back at Disney? Because Universal's fulfilling those needs. Like when he talks about Super Mario, and when he talks about like How to Train Your Dragon and all those things, that's stuff that he just absolutely loves, right? And I don't think he's connecting with the stories that Disney's doing as much lately anymore. And so he just doesn't have that fondness for it anymore. And I think that, man, if Disney could have done Star Wars Land the way that I think everybody wanted it, I think that would have been the greatest land that's ever created. Okay,
so let's talk a little bit more about Star Wars Land, which is not even called that. It's called Galaxy's Edge.
Batuu.
Galaxy's Edge, I thought. Yeah. What's the real...
Batuu.
I swear it's Galaxy's Edge.
Batuu, Galaxy's Edge.
And as we dissect this a little bit more and kind of dive deeper into it, I want your thoughts. You guys, I want all of your comments. If you agree with what we're saying, if you have ideas or suggestions, things that you've thought about with this storytelling in the theme parks, let us know. Or maybe you think Galaxy's Edge is perfect and you love it exactly how it is. Let us know that below too. There are really no right or wrong answers. Just be respectful to each other in the comments.
Well said. Well said. Okay.
Let's do it. Let's dive in. So batuu, or
batuu.
Galaxy's Edge. Yeah. How would you have, like, talk about what is lacking with the storytelling, or talk about kind of what happened with that land and why you don't feel connected to it as much as, say, like going into another land that has better storytelling?
Okay, so let's just pretend I had a blank check, and let's say Disney said, Chris, I want you to create Star Wars land, and you get to do whatever you want.
Well, actually, let's put that on pause, because maybe for people who have never been to Galaxy's Edge, let's talk about Galaxy's Edge. What's in there? What is the story or lack of stories? So then we have something to base.
Galaxy's Edge, well, it's a very large land.
It's humongous.
Okay? It's very large. You've got 2 attractions in it. You've got Rise of Resistance, and Rise of Resistance is incredible. Some of the best storytelling.
It's a trackless ride system.
But it's while you're waiting in the queue, the whole queue is part of the attraction and everything, and you get broken out of jail and all that. That is amazing. And then you have the other attraction, it's Smuggler's Run, where you're flying the Millennium Falcon. You're picking up some coaxium, which again...
I don't know what that is.
Like if Miles was like, what's coaxium? I'm like, I think it's a power source. I'm not exactly sure. I never saw it in the movie. I don't know. Did Luke go to Tashi Station to get to coaxium? I have no idea what coaxium is.
Coaxial.
Coaxial? I don't think so. Maybe.
Coaxium maybe sounds better. See, we don't even...
There's a miss.
Oh my gosh, and we go to Disneyland all the time.
Yeah.
And I might be saying it wrong this whole time.
So that's what we have. And then you've got like a restaurant, and then you've got like kind of like a little stand-up restaurant, and then you've got like a little shop, and then a lot of walking. Lots of walking areas.
Okay, and they have the cantina, and I do have to say...
Oga's Cantina, you're right. See, I forget.
I have a confession.
Yeah.
When they were making Star Wars, Galaxy's Edge, batuu, when they were making it, I thought it was going to be like the famous cantina.
Mos Eisley's Cantina.
That's what I thought it was going to be. And then for the longest time, I didn't understand that like it was Oga's Cantina. And I was like, well, who's Oga? So is Oga like the lady with the huge glasses in the latest Star Wars trilogies? I didn't know. And I didn't understand
not Oga.
it.
But we've never seen Oga. Oga is a character that we've never seen.
I didn't know.
But I guess apparently you can hear her outside while you wait in line, because apparently she lives in an apartment above Oga's Cantina. You can kind of hear her, but we've never seen Oga.
Okay.
And so I don't know. It's Oga's Cantina. This is interesting to me. Are you ready? So you go into Oga's Cantina. If you've never been inside, they have Rex. He's like the DJ, like a droid. He's playing music, and every once in a while he plays the song from Star Wars Cantina. You know, the Mos Eisley band that plays. And the second he plays that song, everybody in the cantina, Oga's, they're like, yeah, they all start, because they can identify it, they understand what it is, and they like it. So like if Miles asked me, he's like, Dad, who's Oga? I'd be like, I don't know. I don't know who Oga is. I still don't know.
But if they played that song, you would be like, I know this song.
Yeah. Dad, why does everybody like the song? Well, this is an amazing song, because this is when it was in the Mos Eisley Cantina. This is when Luke Skywalker finally met Han Solo for the first time, and Han Solo killed Greedo because he shot first. All of that stuff. Right. So there's a lot of things there. I just think that it's interesting. The storytelling there is, I think, really lacking. And it became really evident to me when going to Epic, because Epic's storytelling is so good. And I'm not a big fan of How to Train Your Dragon. We've played the movies here a lot. Amanda is a big fan. She's a diehard fan. When they had the symphony play the music, we had to get tickets so she could see that. We've watched all the movies. It's everything. She knows all about the characters, the backstories, everything about it. When I walk into the Isle of Berk, it was amazing. I understood what was going on. I could get it. It was so easy to understand. There's an ice dragon cooling the drinks. There's this amazing story. You got these dragons there. You get to meet Toothless, and Toothless is always there. This animatronic Toothless is so good that allows everybody to meet Toothless. And that just can make me think, like, why didn't they do that with Jabba the Hutt? Well, why isn't there not a Jabba the Hutt giant animatronic out there where we could just meet?
Okay, so you're saying you don't understand, you know, How to Train Your Dragon, but you understood and appreciated that land.
Yeah, I would say my understanding of How to Train Your Dragon would be, you know, pretty elementary, pretty basic, not the strongest. I mean, I've learned, I didn't know the girl's character, Astrid was her name. I didn't know that going in there. And in fact, when I was there at the Epic Universe preview, they were like, that's Astrid. Okay. And I was like, oh, yeah. Cause that's how much I know. Yeah. Amanda's like, oh, it's Astrid and Hiccup. And they have this really complicated romance, and they're two dragons, they fall in love. And like, she knows all of it. And I don't know that, but I loved being there. Like, when I was in there, I wanted to be in there and stay in there and see what else I was going to discover. I don't feel that way when I go to Batuu.
Okay, so when you go to Batuu, you don't necessarily love being there. Now, I do have to say, when we're at Disneyland, that is the land that we skip the most. Yeah. I would say that's the land that we visit the very least.
Well, I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to plan to pull this off the side for you. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. I remember one time Amanda and I were just kind of goofing around, and we're talking about, like, if you could have any superhero power, what would your superhero power?
Yes.
And Amanda came up with this whole thing about a superhero power. Do you remember what it was?
Yes.
Okay, can you tell us what your superhero power was?
Oh my goodness, you guys. Please don't laugh at me. Yeah. Okay, you can laugh. Mine was to be able to pause time. So I could sleep longer or take a nap.
During the middle of the day, right.
Yeah.
Okay, but you also, then you said this, you gave yourself some kind of, like, restriction. Do you remember the restriction?
Yes.
What'd you say? That
I could only, like, do it one time a day.
Yeah, she goes, my power is one time a day I could pause time and take a nap or sleep or get some work done. And then she's like, but I could only do it once per day. And this is some self-imposed rule that she put on herself, right? And I asked her, I'm like, well, why only one time a day?
Chris is like, what?
Yeah, I'm like, why do that?
Why restrict yourself?
Yeah, like, if you had that power, you could pause time. Why not pause as much as you want? And the second I said that, it was like, Amanda's like, oh, yeah, I guess I could. I feel like Disney has put self-imposed restrictions, like this pause time rule that you came up with that doesn't really serve any purpose, on themselves. They have this timeline in Batuu where they're like, okay, we have to honor this timeline. It takes place between episode 8 and 9. We can't violate the timeline. This is a self-imposed rule that Disney has put on themselves that nobody cares about.
That nobody asked for or cares about. That is so interesting. So it's like, for me, if I had the power, use the power without any restrictions. Well, Disney has the power. They have one of the best IPs ever, if not the best.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm a Star Wars fan, but I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. Correct. But even I can say it might be the absolute best ever. They literally have Star Wars. They have the power. Use the power. And they restricted that power.
Like, so let's look at Avengers Campus. Avengers Campus.
Right.
I think Disney was really smart with that. They're like, you know what? They don't really care about the timeline.
There's no timeline.
They have, like, some plaque kind of explaining it, but really, does anybody care? Because we want to see Iron Man. We want to see Captain America. We want to see Moon Knight. We want to see Black Panther. We want to see all the different characters, and we don't care about the timelines. And we want to see Daredevil and all those characters. We don't care. We want to get a photo op. And I think that Disney has kind of missed the point of that they forget that the storytelling is for the kids. It's for the kids, right? My son, if he walked into Batuu and saw Darth Vader, and then he saw Kylo Ren, and then he saw Darth Maul, do you think he's going to get upset? Like, well, Dad, this doesn't make sense. Or he's just going to be like, oh my gosh, I saw all the bad guys. And I got a photo with every one of them. And look, and Darth Vader actually autographed my book. He autographed my book. He will not care about that timeline.
Well, this is where I want your input as well. I'm going to be throwing a lot of questions at you guys because I know this is controversial and people might have differing opinions.
Yeah.
Do you care when you go to Avengers Campus that there's no timeline? Does it bother you, right? Considering if maybe one superhero had technically, like, passed away or whatever the timeline flows, do you care that you see everyone together, or do you just enjoy the experience? What I feel like I've noticed from guests is they don't care. They're just excited to see Iron Man come out. You know, they're just excited to just experience as many characters and as many different stories as possible. But maybe you do care.
Well, I'm going to say this, and I do not mean to make anybody mad. Okay?
Uh-oh.
But let's say this. There's a 5-year-old who sees Iron Man and gets super excited for Iron Man at Disney. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And let's say there's a 45-year-old man out there, and he's like, well, this doesn't make sense. Iron Man died. This doesn't make sense. You got two different point of views. I think the one that's more valuable is the 5-year-old. Because
we're important too, guys, but
they're having a good time. They're getting that affinity for Disney, and they're going to want to keep coming back for Disney, right? But now what they've done is they've catered to like the 45-year-old guy, and he's like, well, yeah, we can't ever have Darth Vader and Kylo Ren in the same timeline, and the children don't understand it. I don't understand it. Maybe I'm calling myself a child. I don't know.
Well, I just want to do another viewpoint. I thought Galaxy's Edge was kind of chosen because there is a little bit of a story, and that's the very last trilogy that just came out. So the 3 movies that just came out. And I thought that they were kind of focusing on that because they thought the children were watching those, and so they were growing up with those characters. And so that's kind of the reasoning behind that. However, I think it works in Avengers Campus to not have a timeline, and they have this huge chunk of real estate. They literally have
14 acres in Batuu.
They have a Star Wars land, right? It's not called Star Wars Land, but they have a Star Wars land, and it's humongous, and it is beautiful. I feel like the plants are beautiful. They have it, so let's give everyone it. Yeah. Let's give them Star Wars.
I think this might be a little bit of a wake-up call. I think Disney has to get back to their creative storytelling. They need to like this, like and give what the fans want. Like Isle of Berk, Ministry of Magic, Dark Universe, there's Super Mario Land, and the Celestial Park, which is just a generic entryway to all the other worlds, is still fantastic. And you have Star Wars, the greatest stories ever told, and we all know them. We want to see them. We want to be a part of it. And Disney's like, no, you can't do that. It's weird to me. I think Disney, their creativity there they've got to start telling those good stories again, particularly in their theme parks that we absolutely love. And I think that there's some misses on that.
No, and I will have to give them though. Avengers Campus came out after. And so that's something that came out after. And so I think they were, maybe aware of the storytelling with the characters and, keeping it all open for different stories. Mm-hmm. But I think we can also maybe think of like new attractions that have even come out that you might ride and you might say, well, what's the story here? What's the story? Where's that storyline? So not just with lands, but with attractions. And I think it goes back to what you said, the restricting of the power. And there's probably reasons why they do it. I wish I could peek behind the curtain of Disney and know why they do things, but it does feel a little bit more restrictive and a little bit more careful. Mm-hmm. Whereas Universal feels a little bit more like, they're not afraid to go big or go loud or have a lot more creative flexibility and to really be able to use their power. And I think we would love Disney to be able to use their power, especially when it comes to Star Wars.
I think, so here's an example, right? Disney, when they tell something, let's take a look at these rides in Fantasyland. You got Peter Pan.
Yes.
Alice in Wonderland, right? Those are, and Snow White, they're retelling a story that we've seen in a movie and we enjoy those attractions.
Right.
Pinocchio, maybe aside, who knows? But
people love Peter Pan.
Yeah, they're
such
great.
A long line.
And Alice in Wonderland is so good. But you're telling that story that then you have some original attractions that came out originally. Pirates Caribbean, Haunted Mansion.
Oh, it tells a story.
But we love the stories.
They
and we
tell
love everything
stories.
About it. So I think what Disney should have done in Batuu, Star Wars Land, that Rise is amazing, right? That's a completely original story. But then for the Smuggler's Run, why didn't they give us something where like the Millennium Falcon is flying through the asteroids and we're being chased by TIE fighters and Han Solo's and they're in the cockpit and yelling at us and we're just like watching what's going on and we're seeing all that amazingness. Why didn't they give us that story that we were familiar with?
Okay, so I want to hear your thoughts of what you would do to change Galaxy's Edge if you could change. And now I want Chris's. This is where I want you to just go big. I want to know what you would do to change Batuu if you had full control. Let's say they said, okay, Chris, you design it. What attractions would you do? What would you change with the land? What would you change with maybe like a restaurant theming? Tell us everything. You had a blank check. What would you do?
I would love to.
And I want to hear your visuals and your ideas too in the comments.
Okay. I wish that would have been a dream. This is how I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
I think you'd have to have Moon of Endor, right? The forest there, and you need a speeder bike attraction where you're racing on speeder bikes against other speeder bikes, maybe like 4 of them side by side, like you're racing through tracks and trees are flying by. Why don't we have the speeder bikes? That's like everybody wants that. We've always, ever since there's nobody who hasn't seen the speeder bike who hasn't pretended they were like driving a speeder bike.
True.
So speeder bike would be that. The other is a Tatooine. I would want to go to the Mos Eisley Cantina. Oga's Cantina should have been the Mos Eisley Cantina.
Okay.
They should have had the band up there, the animatronics playing the songs.
Oh my
and
gosh.
who cares if it's on repeat and you're hearing the same song over and over, because you get to be there, right? You get to be there and you get to see the booth where Han Solo sat at and he shot first, all that. And then they need Jabba's Cell Palace, the Cell Barge, right? Or Jabba's Palace, either one. There's a Cell Barge or his palace. I don't really care, but they need to have like this giant animatronic of Jabba the Hutt, where you get to go up there and he's like, "Move, Bob." I don't know how he talks right now, but he's like talking, and you get to stand in front of him, and just Salacious Crumb, that little bird-like character, is like laughing, and you get a photo op. They did it with Toothless, right? This amazing animatronic. Jabba.
Yes, that's what you were mentioning for it. I'm so sorry. I cut you off. But that was your point so Epic Universe, they have an area where Toothless always is. You can go meet like an iconic character all the time. So having an animatronic of, say, Jabba, that would be amazing.
And then the other thing is Rise is perfect. It's a great attraction, but like I want to fly love to blow up the Death Star. You could do that. Or to be honest with you, what I really would have loved is if they would have had me, instead of doing Smuggler's Run and getting coaxium or whatever, is if we were like in coaxial, if we were like in a snow speeder flying through Hoth and going through the AT-AT's legs and doing a tow cable around it like this. And
oh my gosh.
You know how like Star Tours is actually better than Smuggler's Run. Right. Because you get new stories, right?
Right.
So like this, who cares? Nobody cares.
You get new stories, but then you get...
You're going from Hoth to all of a sudden you're going to Coruscant.
Yeah.
And then does anybody care?
No.
Like if they could have done that, the Smuggler's Run, where you're going to like blowing up the Death Star, flying down the trenches, and that's probably why they didn't do it, because they're like, well, you get close to that in Star Tours. Or like you said earlier, blowing up the Death Star. Like that would be incredible. It would have been really fun. And I even would have liked like Mustafar, like the lava planet where Anakin finally loses his arms and leg. Whatever. Like, can you imagine a photo op where like they have like the rocks were there and like where Anakin was like, down below and you got oh my gosh.
That might be a little too intense for Disney, for the children.
Oh no. And he's like, I've got the high ground, Anakin. I've got the high ground. Yeah. And Obi-Wan Kenobi is up there. Yeah. And he's like just looking down at him. He's like, people would love to have that photo op when he's up the top and looking down and like, I've got the high ground. Who wouldn't want to do that? You do that with all your friends, right? You would push them down there and act superior with them and laugh and joke about it and post it on Instagram and like, who's got the high ground now? And they would laugh like, oh yeah, next time, whatever. And it would be so fun. They don't have that.
They don't. I think I'm going to add some of my dreams on there. Again, I want to hear yours in the comments below. Yeah. My dreams, I would love to have little Ewok, like animatronics walking around. Yeah. So stinking cute. Just like little, fuzzy, fluffy Ewoks walking around. Yeah. Little animatronics. And I know people hate him and they love to hate him. Okay. But I think we're so starved for Star Wars. I even want like Jar Jar Binks walking down. But can you imagine how cool he would be? How he walks, like he just walks so cool. He kind of reminds me of like Goofy's walk. Yeah. I mean, and just having this big Jar Jar Binks character, like, just like beat bopping down the street. It would be amazing. Now, my number one pick would be to have Darth Vader. Vader in, the Star Wars land. And I also have to say, I would just call it Star Wars Land. You have Adventureland, you have Fantasyland, you have Tomorrowland, you have the best, you have the best thing ever. Star Wars Land. Just give us what we want. Give us that story that we want. Give us the story that even if people aren't connected to, they're going to have their minds blown because they see Darth Vader. They see Darth Maul. They're able to blow up the Death Star. They're able to go to the cantina.
This is okay. I'm sorry. Now I'm starting to get a little angry.
Are we getting angry?
So here's like the blue milk. Luke drinks blue milk. Yeah. And they finally were selling blue milk in Batuu. And we're like, oh, so excited. And what it is, it's a blue slushy. Now in the movie, it wasn't a blue slushy. It was blue milk. All they had to do, literally Disney, all they had to do was have milk dyed a little bit blue, with a little bit of vanilla in it, and then say, here's blue milk. And then that way I could drink it with my son, and we'd be drinking blue milk and actually having milk rather than having this slushy that nobody really seems to really like. And
I think they did the slushy, though, maybe for people that had like dairy restrictions or were vegan.
Maybe, maybe. I don't know. That's a good point. Why change when I don't understand that. It's another, I saw it on the screen. And when I went to get it, it didn't even look like what it was on the screen.
Now, let us know if you're like, no, the timeline is sacred, how they have it there. We should not have Princess Leia one side of the land and then have Rey on the other side. I mean, they connect, I feel like. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you wouldn't be upset seeing Darth Vader and Kylo Ren together, but to me, the more the merrier, right? Like it's the most powerful.
Let's be honest with you, though. Would it bother you to get a photo if Darth Vader was on the one side and Kylo Ren was on the other side?
No, I would give my left kidney for that.
And Darth Maul standing behind you with his lightsaber.
Can I spare both kidneys? Because I would give both kidneys for that. It would just be amazing, right? We're starved for that Star Wars experience.
Yeah.
You have Darth Vader in Tomorrowland, and it doesn't make sense anymore. It really doesn't. It did. I felt like it did make sense to have Darth Vader and the Stormtroopers because you had Star Tours and you did not have a Star Wars land. You have the biggest, most beautiful Star Wars land, a land for Star Wars. Give us Star Wars.
That's it. Yeah. I think that this is going to become more obvious to people as more people start to experience Epic Universe, because the storytelling there is so good. You're so immersed in the world. And even if you're not a fan, you understand what's going on. And I think that this is going to become more evident with Batuu as more people experience that. They're going to look back and be like, wait, what's going on here? There's going to be comparisons. People can't help it. And Disney is pretending like Disney doesn't even acknowledge Universal, right? They don't even acknowledge it, and they're just kind of like whatever. I think Disney needs to acknowledge the fact that Universal is going for it. They want to be the premier destination, and I think that they're going to start to take the dollars away from Disney.
Well, I'm really excited to experience it this week. I'll be doing the I don't know test now that Chris brought this up. I'm going to be doing that as I experience the different worlds, experience the storytelling of the different worlds, and really asking myself, like, hey, what is this? Do I know this? And if I don't know this, am I able to still connect with it and understand it and appreciate it? So I'll be experiencing that.
I just think about this, like, because if we walked into Adventureland to somebody, like, what is this? I'm like, this is like, we're going to go on some adventures here. This is a great, we're like in the jungle and we're having fun. I could answer that. Like, what is it? New Orleans Square? What is this? We're in the New Orleans where we get some beignets and there's some jazz music here. And I could explain it. What's this Fantasyland stuff that you're talking about? Well, this is where all the fancy stories are. I could talk about it, right? Tomorrowland, this is going to be in the future. I just can't talk about it like that. Batuu, it's weird.
What you're really driving home is absolutely Disneyland has done fantastic storytelling, and fantastic storytelling with the lands and the attractions. They have done it. They've done an amazing job with it.
What's this Toontown? It's where all the cartoons live. I mean, you understand the lands,
but you're just worried about the direction that it might be going. They might be holding back on their storytelling power, especially as other theme parks are coming out with new experiences.
This is my biggest thing for this is Disney is the greatest. The company Disney was the most creative and best at storytelling other than anybody else. Hands down. I don't know if they are anymore. And that's shocking to me to say because I love Disney so much. But after experiencing Epic Universe, their lands were so immersive. Their characters are so fun to interact with. The settings are so perfect that it doesn't matter if you are familiar with the IP or not, you're going to enjoy your stay there. And I feel like to really enjoy Batuu, people have to kind of really be diehard Star Wars fans. If not, they just kind of walk through and like, what is this rock place that we're at? I mean, I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see. Now, let us know in the comments below all of your thoughts. Again, just be respectful. And then again, as we go back and experience Epic Universe, please let me know what you would like to see, especially as I'm going just to experience the park and do all the things that really are not attractions. So whatever you want to see that's really not attractions, let me know so I can cover it for you. Yeah. And then I'll be covering the attractions in about a month.
Miles and I will be doing the attractions.
They'll be doing the attractions.
Amanda will be there. So we're gonna have to figure that out because she will need to get. She'll only get to walk. She's limited mobility right now, so we'll probably get like a little wheelchair. But I still think because she asked me, this is another thing because she asked me. She's like, I can't ride the rides. Is it going to be worth it for us to go to Epic at this time? And I was like, yes, 100%. Which is, I think, that's a big tell sign that I say yes to that. Because if you were going to, let's say, Magic Mountain, which I love Magic Mountain, it's got real roller coasters, but she couldn't ride any of the rides, I'd be like, don't go to Magic Mountain because it's not there. Their theming's not there. It's really ride centric. Universal Epic, it doesn't matter. The rides it doesn't matter. The whole experience is the whole experience.
Amazing. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
And I just want to say this. If you guys want more Park Pass stuff, we have a Patreon. Our Patreon, you go on to patreon.com and type in Provost Park Pass. This is a way that you guys can say you guys are creating quality content, and you guys can do like some pledges there. If you do that, you get extra videos. That's right, extra videos where Amanda and I answer your questions. People can submit questions, and we'll answer your questions. We also do behind the scenes stuff, and we have a really good Patreon community. I'm very proud of them.
Oh my gosh, they are the best people ever. To the point where like they're going to become your BFFs. Yeah. So if you like theme parks, if you like travel, that is the community for you, because we're Provost Park Pass. You know, it's positive. I mean, they're so positive. Now, I will say, what was that? What was I going to go with that? Oh, this is it. We answer all of the questions over on Patreon. We try to answer as many questions as possible and cover as much here on YouTube, but sometimes they fall through the cracks or we get too busy. But on Patreon, any questions that you have, whether it's travel, tip planning, or questions about attractions,
homework,
whatever it is, we answer all of them.
We've gotten questions about everything.
And it's just a great way to support our channel. So if you enjoy our content here in our studio or in the parks, it goes a long way to support us.
It sure does.
Thank you so much.
You guys are the absolute best, and you guys are great. We'll see you in our next video.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.